Hey there, welcome back to another review. This time, it's definitely more of a rant on the film The Wolverine, which is a 2013 film that honestly felt like a bear pissed in my face and Wolverine stabbed me in the balls with his adamantium claws while the Silver Samurai took a superheated adamantium sword and shoved it up my ass. That's what it felt like watching this movie, for the most part. What a boring, disappointing, lame ass movie this was. I remember, I did a big rant on this film when it came out. And I thought 4 years later, give it another watch, check it out, check out the extended cut, that it would be better. Kind of like how I felt about X-Men First Class. I'm not a super big fan of the film. I still wasn't ultimately a supporter of the movie. I didn't like the film, but I did respect it more and I did appreciate it more the second time around. That's not what happened here. I would say maybe there's a few more things that I would say I would point out were as positives than I did in the past, because that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to find more positives in films, even movies that I honestly think are extremely flawed, like this one. But it didn't, in my opinion on it, didn't change that much. The extended cut, all that happened was, okay, there was some extra CGI blood that looked extremely shitty. It was blatantly noticeable. It was absolutely 100% just visible that it was CGI. It was just unnecessary. It totally looked like it was tacked on after the fact. There wasn't any thought put into it. And Wolverine sweared a few times. Logan had a few swear words that were put in, dubbed in. That's it. That's all it was. So, and then there were some extra scenes that were added in the film that just extended the film's already way too long running time, way past the breaking point. So, the extended cut doesn't do anything. It doesn't improve the film, and it's just as disappointing as the theatrical cut, in my opinion. So, the movie came out July 26th of 2013. I don't remember whether or not I saw it in the theater or not. I'm thinking I didn't, but I might have, but I don't remember. And so, it must not have made that much of an impression on me if I don't remember seeing it in the theater. I think I did watch it with my friend online one time as well. So maybe I saw it in the theater and then saw it again. I don't know. I don't remember how I saw this. And the theatrical cut anyway. It had a $120 million budget. It made $14.8 million worldwide. So it had made a decent amount, it made a good amount of money. It was a hit. And a lot of critics liked it, and to each their own. If you enjoy this film, that's fine. And I have no problems with that. I think that's great. I wish I liked this. I really do. I wish I liked this film. This has everything I've been I wanted to see this storyline on film for years. I wanted to see Wolverine in Japan fighting ninjas. I wanted to see that. I finally get it, and Wolverine fights ninjas for like a minute and a half, or not even that, and most of it's just boring talking and dialogue and mediocre at best action sequences. Such a fucking letdown. This movie was honestly even more disappointing than X-Men 3. This is now surpassed The Last Stand as the most disappointing film to me. Because the X-Men The Last Stand, you had the Dark Phoenix storyline. They were balancing this other stuff out. The Dark Phoenix storyline should have just been its own film. And so they didn't do that justice. And so it's too complicated to do it in just a part of one storyline. But in this, you have a simple story. Just taking the miniseries, the Wolverine miniseries, the iconic miniseries by Chris Claremont and Frank Miller, where Wolverine goes to Japan, fights ninjas. It's not rocket science. It's not hard, and this movie manages to do the impossible and fuck all of that up. And it just baffles me. I highly doubt these writers, Mark Baumbach and Scott Frank, actually sat down and read that miniseries. Because if they did, they would not have fucked things up as badly as they did. Where's the action? Where's the excitement? Where's the fun? Where's everything that was in that miniseries? Because it sure as fuck isn't in this movie. Ah! So anyway, it's directed by James Mangold, who at this point in time, he was not really ready, or I would probably say this was out of his comfort zone at at this point in time. Uh, At this point in time, he was out of his comfort zone. But with the next Wolverine movie he did, man, did he knock it out of the fucking park. I'll talk about that later. But, here, the action is, you can tell this is a director who's not very experienced in terms of directing action sequences. Every now and there's like a decent scene, but for the most part, it just seems like he's out of his league. He's not used to doing this, and it shows. The screenplay by Mark Baumbach and Scott Frank, I'll talk about that more in depth later, about all the fucking myriad and plethora of issues this screenplay has. It stars Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, Hiroyuki Sanada as Shingen, Famke Janssen, who has a cameo appearance, multiple cameo appearances as Jean Grey, who just represents Logan's guilt over the death of Jean Grey, and it's so pretentious, and it doesn't need to be in this film. William Lee plays a guy who's like the head of these ninjas, but then he's a good guy, but then he's not. He plays both sides, and it's kind of a convoluted character. Tao Okamoto plays a character named Mariko, who ends up becoming the love interest for Logan. She's the daughter of the older, her father, who is become this really popular businessman who's dying and wants Wolverine's help. He wants his healing factor in order to heal him. He also was saved by Logan in World War II after the atom bomb was dropped on, I believe it's Hiroshima or Nagasaki, either one of them. And he ended up saving him, but now he wants his help. So that character is played by Haruhiko Yamanouchi. Rila Fukashima plays a character named Yukio, who has this bright red hair and she can see the future. Svetlana Khodchenkova, or Chode, Svetlana Chodchokova plays Viper. It's a really throwaway villain that was shitty in the Nick Fury TV movie in the late 90s with David Hasselhoff, and she's shitty here too. And then you also have Brian T, who was Shredder in Turtles TMNT Out of the Shadows. Yeah, Shredder from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows was in this. It features music by Marco Beltrami, cinematography by Ross Emery, it's edited by Michael McCusker, and it also features visual effects by Weta Digital, Rising Sun Pictures, Allura, and Shade VFX. Clearly, most of the budget went into the visual effects, and in some instances it looks the part. And also, of course, they shot in Japan, which was really nice to see. Some great location shots. They could have honestly got more out of the setting, but at the same time, I do appreciate that they spent the money and actually went to Japan and shot sequences there. Now, the development and pre-production of this film isn't as interesting as some of the other films, but I still think it's worth mentioning. In September 2007, Gavin Hood, the director of X-Men Origins Wolverine, he speculated that there would be a sequel, which would be set in Japan. During one of the post-credit scenes, Logan is seen drinking at a bar in Japan. Such a location was the subject of Chris Claremont and Frank Miller's 1982 limited series on the character, the one that has the famous cover art where Wolverine has got his finger out and he's like, come on, come on. He's like, bring it. I love that cover art. I love that story. I wish it was done justice in this movie, because it wasn't. This should have been like The Raid with Wolverine, or Revenge of the Ninja with Wolverine, but instead we get none of that. It's so fucking frustrating. It really is. Such an annoyingly aggravating movie to watch, just to see everything about this storyline just get fucked over and fucked up. At least everything that was worth a damn. They don't even do the love story justice because these two characters have no chemistry. But that's a whole nother story. All right. Back to the development pre-production. Before X-Men Origins Wolverine's release, Lauren Schuler Donner, she approached Simon Beaufoy to write the script, but he did not feel confident enough to commit. On May 4th of 2009, Jackman's company Seed Productions. Yeah, great. Seed Productions. Great title, Hugh. This movie's a seed, alright. It's not the kind you plant in the ground. It's the kind that comes spurting out. He's preparing several projects, including a sequel to X-Men Origins Wolverine to be set in Japan, but neither Jackman nor Seed has a production credit on the completed 2013 film. On May 5th, 2009, just days after the opening weekend of X-Men Origins Wolverine, the sequel was officially confirmed. Christopher McQuarrie, who went uncredited for his work on X-Men, was hired to write the screenplay for the Wolverine sequel in August of 2009. According to Schuler Donner, the sequel would focus on the relationship between Wolverine and Mariko, the daughter of a Japanese crime lord, and what happens to him in Japan. Wolverine would have a different fighting style due to Mariko's father having this stick-like weapon. There will be samurai, ninja, katana blades, different forms of martial arts, mano-a-mano, extreme fighting. That sounds really cool. Where did that movie go? Why didn't we get that film? I want to see Christopher McQuarrie's The Wolverine. Honestly, he would have been a good choice to direct, because look what he did with Jack Reacher. I believe it's the same director. I believe it's the same guy who directed that film. And Lauren Schuler Donner continued, we wanted to make it authentic, so I think it's very likely we'll be shooting in Japan. I think it's likely the characters will speak English rather than Japanese with subtitles. Honestly, I would have preferred that a little bit, because the version that I saw, okay, it didn't come with subtitles that I watched again. The extended cut, it did not come with subtitles. So there was all these scenes with Japanese dialogue. I didn't understand a word of it. So that's probably the link that I found. That's that link's problem. But regardless, there's too much fucking dialogue in this film. In January of 2010, at the People's Choice Awards, Jackman stated the film would start shooting sometime in 2011. It stated in March 2010, McQuarrie declared that the screenplay was finished for production to start January the following year. Sources indicated that Darren Aronofsky was in negotiations to direct the film after Bryan Singer turned down the offer. In March of 2011, Aronofsky bowed out of directing the film, stating in a statement, as I talked more about the film with my collaborators at Fox, it became clear that the production of The Wolverine would keep me out of the country for almost a year. I was not comfortable being away from my family for that length of time. I'm sad that I won't be able to see the project, though, as it is a terrific script, and I was very much looking forward to working with my friend Hugh Jackman again. So once again, Aronofsky, who was one of the proposed directors to do The Last Stand, if I remember correctly, was asked to do this. He said he declined. He said no. Aronofsky's a good director for certain things. I don't think he'd be a good director for this. I don't, because just like Mangold in this, he just would be out of his comfort zone with these action sequences. This is a film that needed to be action-packed. Balls to the wall, 90 minutes, maybe 100, maybe around an hour and 40 minutes, maybe, or maybe an hour and 50. But, like, none of this over 2 hours or something. I mean, 90 minutes, 95 minutes, balls to the wall action. That's really what this film should have been. You could have easily had the love story in there if you wanted to, but the focus should have been Wolverine fucking up ninjas in Japan and the Yakuza right and left. Slicing and dicing them. That's what it should have been. That's what the focus of the film should have been. That's not what it was. It was so easy, so simple. And they just don't fucking do it. So Fox also decided to be in no rush to start the production of the film due to the damage incurred in Japan by the 2011 Tohoku earthquake, and tsunami. Despite this, Jackman said the project was moving ahead. It's too early to call in Japan. I'm not sure where they're at. He's quoted, so we're trying to find another director. But Fox is very anxious to make the movie, and we're moving full ahead, full steam to find another director. In May of 2011, Fox had a list of 8 candidates to replace Darren Aronofsky, including directors Jose Padilla. Oh, great. The guy who did RoboCop? I'll take James Mangold over the guy who did RoboCop. RoboCop, yeah. I'm not calling it RoboCop. It doesn't deserve to be called RoboCop. It's not RoboCop. It's RoboCop. Robobukaki. Doug Liman, Antoine Fuqua. Antoine Fuqua would have been interesting. Mark Romanek, Justin Lin, Gavin O'Connor, James Mangold, and Gary Shore. Doug Liman, he did a great job with the directing for Edge of Tomorrow. Justin Lin, maybe. Antoine Fuqua I would have been curious about. But in June of 2011, Fox entered negotiations blah, 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 with Mangold and intended to start principal photography in fall of 2011. In July of 2011, Jackman said he planned to begin filming in October 2011 and that he would fight the Silver Samurai, which is one of the problems the film had. The Silver Samurai did not need to be in this story, especially the way that he is. It's this stupid twist you can see coming a mile away, and the characters' motivations are extremely lame and don't make much sense. So in August 2012, Guillermo del Toro revealed that he had been interested in directing the movie, as the Japanese arc was his favorite Wolverine story. After meeting with Jim Giannopoulos and Jackman, del Toro passed on the film, deciding he did not wish to spend 2 to 3 years of his life working on the movie. I don't get that, because I don't think this film took 2 to 3 years to make. So, this is from Wikipedia, so it could have been just thrown in there by a fan. It might not actually be real, but I would have been interested. I would have been curious to see what Del Toro's Wolverine would have been, especially since he was a passionate and actually gave a shit about the story, about the comic series that this movie is supposedly based on. Yeah, there's that famous image of Wolverine standing on top of a fucking giant pile of dead ninjas, and he's like, "Come on, let's go." And none of that is in the movie because, well, it's PG-13, and also the writers apparently didn't read the fucking comic that they're supposed to be adapting. And if they did, they just read the Cliff Notes version or looked at the synopsis on Wikipedia. So anyway, despite my, not really, I wouldn't necessarily say hatred for this film, but despite the fact that I did not care for this movie for the most part at all, there were some pros. I mean, there were definitely some pros. Excuse me for clearing my throat there, just... It's like I'm allergic to this film's bullshit. So, it's directed by James Mangold. Now, that is one of the pros. I thought the directing was fine. Mangold is definitely a guy who knows how to get the most out of his visuals. He knows how to work with the camera well. He knows how to use different angles. He's definitely a good director. So, that's a big step up from Gavin Hood, for instance. The performances by Hugh Jackman, Tao Okamoto, and Rila Fukashima I thought were pretty solid, especially Hugh Jackman. He's not the problem here. You just need to be in a better film. Tao Okamoto, at first she was kind of stiff, but then as the film went on, she actually started to show some pretty genuinely good acting talents. It's just a shame that she had zero chemistry with Hugh Jackman. Rila Fukashima actually had chemistry with Hugh. And she started out kind of stiff as well, but as the film went on, she became more comfortable, and her performance started to get much better. And one of it is definitely when it started to get better was actually after she had this premonition about what was going to happen to Logan, and she basically tells him how he's going to die, and she shows some genuinely sad emotions, and it was believable. And then from then on, her performance is actually really good. And I really liked the dynamic between her and Hugh. Honestly, I would have preferred just having her and Hugh teaming up and going up against the Yakuza and the ninjas rather than Mariko. I know Mariko is a part of the miniseries, but this actress, she's fine, but she just doesn't have any chemistry with Hugh, which is a problem. Especially when you're trying to have a relationship or romance that's supposed to blossom and create something, and it just doesn't work. I think it might be the writing more than her performance. That might be one of the main reasons why. That might be the reason why they don't have any chemistry. Parts of the score by Marco Beltrami I liked. Not all of it, but there were definitely some parts of it that I did enjoy. The practical silver samurai suit, when you do see the little bits of it that you do see, Wolverine's claws, when they're done practically, some of the visual effects. A few of the action sequences I liked. The scuffle at the funeral I thought was a good, it was an alright action sequence. The bits of the bullet train scene, specifically the little fisticuff he has with the Yakuza in the bathroom, and then he kicks one of them out the train. I like that little bit there. The stuff where he's fighting the guy on top of the train. No, I don't like that at all because it's silly. And I'll explain more why later. The battle between Wolverine and Shingen. Shingen, he's in the samurai outfit and he's fighting Wolverine with a samurai sword. That was actually a really well edited, directed, and choreographed fight scene. So I actually like that quite a bit. And some of the fights in the snow with the ninjas, what little bit is there, and parts of the climax. But overall, there isn't one action sequence. Even the samurai fight isn't like, oh man, like that is amazing. That's one of the best things ever. I mean, there isn't one truly great action sequence. Like at best, the action sequences are average, and that's so disappointing. And I know I'm using that word a bunch of times in this review, but it fits perfectly because it is. It's disappointing considering this source material, considering what they're trying to adapt. Some of the cinematography by Ross Emery, especially in the scenes in the hotel in Japan in the rain, reminded me a lot of Blade Runner. I love the use of the light and textures and colors. Um, and the sequences in the snow, there was a nice look to that as well. I just wish it was R-rated, so then Wolverine is fucking up ninjas and cutting off limbs and decapitating them and shoving their heads up their asses and kicking ass. That you could see blood, spraying everywhere, see blood on the snow, but nope. The editing I also thought was really good by Michael McCusker. It was tight, it was taut, it was effective, and I did like the harder tone. I just wish it was R. It should have been R, not PG-13. And this extended unrated cut doesn't make a fucking difference because it still is mostly about probably 95% of it or 98% of it is still the PG-13 version. It just has some extra CGI blood that looks like CGI blood that looks really shitty and really noticeable, and some swear words, and that's it. Now we get into the cons. And honestly, these are the things that completely brought the film down for me. It brought the film down to its knees and made the movie commit harakiri. Just stab the knife in, gut itself, guts spill out, it's dead, it's fucked, it killed itself. It committed suicide. It committed harakiri on itself with these fucking cons. So, the number one problem I absolutely have to say is the script. The screenplay by Mark Baumbach and Scott Frank. It's substandard. It's a horrible interpretation of the source material. Like I said, you take the iconic Frank Miller and Chris Claremont miniseries and you fuck it up. You cut its balls off and you immolate the motherfucker. And it is just such an extremely just frustrating and aggravating and just shockingly awful interpretation of the source material. You take all the fun, the excitement out of this. You turn it into a generic, bland, boring pile of shit. I mean, you have ninjas and Yakuza versus Wolverine in Japan. Should have been easy, fast-paced, thrilling, awesome, badass. But nope, they give you bear piss in the woods and an arrow to the balls. And what do I mean by bear piss? There actually is a scene in the film. These writers actually wrote a scene where they have a bear piss in the woods. Yeah, because that's I for some reason they thought that was something that needed to be in the film, something we needed to see, some unnecessary subplot where I guess Wolverine is friends with grizzly bears for some fucking reason, and some asshole hunter guys shoot one with an arrow that's poisoned, has a poisoned tip. Wolverine sees a suffering bear, and it's CGI, by the way. So, oh, we got a CGI bear who pisses in the woods. What the fuck was the point of that? Is Wolverine now Mowgli from the Jungle Book? Is he going to be singing the Bear Necessities with this CGI bear later in the film? What the hell? Is he friends with this bear? What is this, On Deadly Ground? What is this, Forest Warrior with Chuck Norris? What the fuck is going on with this bear? Why is this bear here? What the fuck is the point of this? And so he kills the bear with his claw, puts him out of its misery, goes in and tries to go get some bear justice on some of these assholes in a bar, stabs some guy in the hand with an arrow, and then is, I guess, ready to kill him over some bear he doesn't even fucking know. And I'm just like, what the fuck is the point of this? Why is there this bear justice shit? What the hell? And yeah, bear piss in the woods, just ninjas and Wolverine, and he doesn't fight any ninjas until over an hour into the film, like an hour and a half into the movie, and when he does, it's like a minute. So all that build up for a minute of fighting a few ninjas in the snow, and then they shoot him in the back with arrows, and it looks stupid, and I'm like, what the hell? Why doesn't he just go berserker rage and cut these arrows off? And one arrow with some serum and poison ends up bringing him down. Like, what the hell is this shit? What, you lazy ass motherfuckers in your fucking screenplay? Two of you came up with this bullshit. Well, Viper has some serum. We don't even know what the fuck it is that apparently knocks Wolverine down. Why is the poison having any effect on him? Doesn't make any sense to me because he has this healing factor. Why is it having any effect on him? Wouldn't it just like hit him and then it would just absorb it? It wouldn't do shit because of his healing factor? So, I mean, you have that. You have the romance that's poorly written, that ends up not working at all because it doesn't bother to give these characters any scenes where they show any chemistry, or where Logan and Mariko actually end up, I don't know, kind of believably falling in love. That never happens. There's just too much fucking dialogue. Just way too much. To the point where it just slows the film down to a crawl. Like I said, there's this utter lack of chemistry between Logan and Mariko, which makes all those sequences seem rather pointless, or just makes the film drag, and they feel like padding. There's a lack of memorable and truly great action sequences, which goes to the writers, who for some, I guess, didn't read the fucking comic book that this is supposed to be based on, because there's plenty of great action sequences you could have used, but nope. The lack of the R rating really hurts the film. Extended cut does not fix this. The lack of true visual violence is still quite evident. You can add some CGI blood on the screen, or, you know, some little bit of blood on Wolverine's claws, or a really bad, awful amount of awful sequence in the snow battle, or Yukio, she gets into this snowplow and runs over some guys, and you see some CGI blood spray out of the top of the snowplow onto a rooftop. And it's so bad. It doesn't even look like real blood. It just looks like ragu. Looks like tomato paste. You have weak villains. I mean, really weak villains. Villains that are about as strong as a piece of fucking balsa wood. Alright, you got Shingen, who gives a fuck. Viper, who I guess she's like part snake. There's a scene where she sheds her skin, but then all it is she just takes her hair off and she's bald. I'm like, wow, so she looks like so she's an evil Ilia from Star Trek: The Motion Picture. Wow, so fucking what? Why did she turn into a snake? You had a prime opportunity to be like, oh, she rips off her skin and then she's like a snake woman. Nope, didn't go that route. Instead, we still got this shitty actress who can't act worth a shit, who is a poor woman's Brigitte Nielsen. Yeah, really, she makes Brigitte Nielsen look like a masterclass, a master thespian in comparison. And so you have Viper sucks ass. Her demise is lame. Silver Samurai, for some reason, is now 10 feet fucking tall, and he's the Shredder from the Ninja Turtles reboot. And it just looks ridiculous. Like, what is this Transformers looking motherfucker doing in this movie? Why the fuck is Silver Samurai 10 feet fucking tall? I don't remember him ever being that tall. And he has adamantium armor? Maybe he did in the comics, but why is he called Silver Samurai? If he just... Regardless, I don't remember Silver Samurai being that fucking tall and huge. It makes it look ridiculous. Bigger is not better. This is just stupid. It makes the fight he has with Wolverine lame. Really, what it should have been is he should have been normal size with the armor, so then there could actually be some really cool fight scenes. Better choreography. Instead of this CGI fucking stumbling and bumbling robot that's just moving about as well as the Ed 209. So yeah, you had 3 villains and they all suck. There isn't a single one that you love to hate, or that is one that you are rooting for the hero to kick their asses. You don't give a shit about any of them. They're just absolutely just weak sauce. Horrible pacing. The movie moves slower than a slug and narcoleptics for 90% of the film's running time. The extended cut just increases the snooze factor, if you ask me. It doesn't improve the pacing at all. I mean, what is up with these Wolverine movies that don't have Wolverine doing much? I don't want to see bearded Jesus man Wolverine walk around being mopey and dopey and getting bear justice, and then goes to Japan and gets a shave and a haircut in 2 bits. I don't want to see that out of a Wolverine movie. Goes to Japan and gets a shave and a haircut. You even get to see his ass. Great. Oh, it was hilarious. Wow, we get to see Wolverine get a bath. I don't give a shit about the prequel scene either, where he's at World War II. And although that is a good makeup effect when he gets hit by the atomic blast and heals. Regardless, I don't give a shit about that. And also that establish it in a way that just makes the villain even more lame. Like, why the hell does he hate Wolverine? Why is he... I'll say that's one of the things on my list I'll get to. I don't want to give that away just yet. Bad acting by the rest of the cast, especially by the actress playing Viper. Like I said, she sucks shit. She can breathe on herself and do us all a favor and just put herself out of the movie and end our misery. She's so bad. Dialogue overload. Absolutely huge problem with this film. Shut the hell up and get to the claw-ripping badass action. I don't... What do they think? I'm not looking for boring-ass swabs of dialogue in Japanese and English in a Wolverine solo film. Give me the berserker fucking rage and Wolverine slicing and dicing motherfucking ninjas. It isn't that fucking hard. A little less conversation and a little more action, please. Show me, don't tell me. And none of the stuff that they're saying is that interesting. So that just doesn't help either. It's not like they were saying anything that was really cool or philosophically intriguing. Nothing was interesting about this dialogue. And there's too much of it. Just felt like they were just padding the film's running time. That's all it felt like, just padding. Same goes with the drama and the love story that doesn't work at all. Neither of them work. Trying to do this stupid twist. Oh, he's not. He's dead. Oh no, he's not. He's a samurai. Yeah, I fucking figured that out 30 minutes into the fucking movie. Pretentious Jean Grey cameo scenes. I hated that. Why? That's not necessary. Oh, it's yeah, you got Famke Janssen. Yeah, it's like a figment of Wolverine's imagination because apparently he's going crazy now and having hallucinations of Jean, which represent his grief. I don't really care. I don't. The villain's motivation, really, what the hell was his motivation again? Oh, he wanted to become young? He wanted to live forever? So he does it by fucking over the man who saved his life in World War II? I don't understand this. The film establishes these two as friends, longtime friends, and I guess because he's rich and powerful now, thanks to Wolverine saving his ass in World War II from an atomic blast, now he wants to kill Wolverine and take all of his healing factor away from him, and so he can become young and powerful. I mean, it's just like, dude, you were powerful to begin with because of Wolverine. Why are you doing this? What the fuck, man? And it also had a really lame climax. Wolverine gets his ass kicked, for the most part, by the samurai. You have a really just lackluster, forgettable fight between Yukio and Viper, which ends with Viper just getting hung by elevator cable, which is just whatever. Uh, and Wolverine just getting his ass kicked by this ridiculous looking giant silver samurai, which cuts his claws off, and then finally he grabs one of the giant swords and remembers, oh, you gotta hold it with two hands, and then uses that to get an advantage, but it doesn't do anything. So it does is cut the head off, but apparently it didn't cut off the guy who was operating the robot's head off. It just cut off the top of it. And so he's still able to see and move, and cuts off Wolverine's other claw. And so you have this whole sort of sequence of just like, oh, it also just, you have there's like promotional material that show Wolverine with a regular samurai sword. He never uses that. He never does anything with it. He fights Shingen. Shingen stabs him. He pulls it out of him and he heals. But he never uses an actual real samurai sword in a battle. He uses this giant fucking broadsword, giant silly looking samurai sword that heats up. And then he like cuts the samurai a little bit. But that's it. And I guess he was dumb enough to not realize, oh, he's not finished off. So Samurai still grabs him and cuts off his other claw. So now he's hanging on for dear life off this cliff. And he gets saved by Mariko, who just picks up two of his claws that were laying on the ground, throws them at her grandfather. One of them sticks in his head and like in his neck. And the one in his head looks kind of stupid, actually. He's just like, duh! He's just stumbling around like a fucking idiot. And finally, Wolverine takes out his bone claws. It says an all right one-liner where he says, you know, you brought me here to say goodbye. Well, sayonara. And then stabs him in the neck. And then sends him flying off the cliff. Should have called, should have said sayonara, asshole. But, it's PG-13. Even though they had the F word that was dubbed in there, they could have easily had sayonara, asshole dubbed in, but nope. But yeah, he stabs him with the bone claws, and then he falls down to his death. And then you have a scene in the airport that sets up the Days of Future Past storyline. Magneto and Professor X. And that's it. And then there was like another deleted scene, alternate after credits sequence, where Wolverine Logan gets a box and it has his old costume in it, which would have been nice to see in the film or in a later movie, but that doesn't happen. And yeah, so I mean that's the Wolverine, and that's your climax. Some shitty climax with a giant fucking CGI Silver Samurai who looks silly and stupid. Wolverine doesn't do much except get his ass kicked majority of the time. Gets saved by Mariko by throwing his claws into Silver Samurai's head in a silly, dumb-looking way. He finishes him off, and that's it. All that build-up for this lame fucking bullshit. So anyway, yeah, I don't know what else to say about the film. I really don't. Except if I was to rate the movie out of 5 stars, I would give The Wolverine 1.5 out of 5 stars. And that's probably being generous, to be honest. I mean, uh, I, because there isn't a lot that I like about this film. But I mentioned the pros earlier, but like I said, the cons to me, they far outweigh the pros. And it's too bad. Great storyline, and they've an epic fail. An epic fail in terms of adapting it properly. Just such a waste. But anyway, thanks for watching, and as always, I will see you guys later. See ya.